Judge Eileen Cannon, appointed by former President Donald Trump, has ruled against special counsel Jack Smith in the criminal case involving Trump's handling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago home. Cannon rejected the Justice Department's request for sealed filings to maintain grand jury secrecy in the case and struck down 2 sealed filings from the record. So, getting into the details here, these filings related to a motion brought by Mr. Smith's office arguing that Stanley Woodward, attorney for Trump's aide and confidant Walt Nauta, has potential conflicts of interest as he represents other individuals who could be called to testify in the case. So I could see how that would be an absolute conflict of interest there. Cannon also questioned the legal propriety of Smith's use of an out-of-state grand jury for the investigation and post-indictment hearings, and demanded an explanation from Smith's office regarding the use of the out-of-district grand jury. So, look, once again, Judge Cannon riding to the rescue to shield Donald Trump. Because, of course, gee, who didn't see that one coming? It's almost like, I don't know, she's protecting Trump for some reason? Now, according to former U.S. Attorney Andrew Weissman on X, formerly known as Twitter, I really don't want to call it X, ridiculous name, says this. Judge Cannon clearly shows her ignorance, bias, both. The obstruction crimes that were investigated are charges that could have been brought in Florida or in D.C. and thus could be investigated in either district, he wrote. And there was conduct that is alleged to have occurred outside Florida. So, look, that of course addresses her criticism of, why did you bring in an out-of-state grand jury? Why did you do that? Well, because the case isn't just in Florida, it involves Washington, D.C. Okay, so now, here's the thing. I think it's pretty obvious by now that Judge Cannon has a bias for Trump in favor. And look, it goes beyond like, oh, no, you don't understand. She's just trying to ensure that Donald Trump is a fair trial because it seems like things are pretty stacked against him, you know? No. Look, if a ruling helped Trump but was sound when it comes to the law, okay, when it comes to precedent, when it comes to fairness, when it comes to his rights under the Constitution, which he does have, well, then, of course, I'm going to side with the ruling, even if I don't personally like it, right? Trump deserves a fair trial, speedy trial, based on factual information. The last thing that we want is to have a political trial. First of all, again, we shouldn't be doing political trials here in the United States. And secondly, we don't want to prove Republicans right by doing a political trial against Trump. Again, I think the right wing wants a political trial more than anything when it comes to Trump. Now, that said, this is not that situation. Again, when you know the facts of the case, the fact that Trump had these documents, he had the chance to return them, he was asked to return them, he refused flat out, got his lawyers to lie for him, etc., etc. When you know the facts of the case and you look at this judge, well, it seems like she shows a very clear favoritism towards Trump and seems to, at every chance she can, bend over backwards to help him with rulings that don't really seem to make any sense. For example, Cannon had approved Trump's request to appoint an independent special master to review the classified documents before they could be handed back to the DOJ. That decision was later thrown out by an appeals court because it was ridiculous. And so that's one example. Her seeming favoritism towards Trump, the man who appointed her to that position, isn't the only issue. It's also her lack of experience. In fact, she'd only been a federal prosecutor. Well, she'd been a federal prosecutor for about 7 years, but had only been part of 8 criminal trials that resulted in jury verdicts. 4 as a prosecutor and 4 as a judge. In fact, she spent a total of 14 days in trial as a federal judge. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And so she's massively inexperienced as a judge. And that inexperience has had repercussions in the fact that she's made a bunch of mistakes in her very short time as a judge. Her most recent one came in June when she had closed jury selection in a child pornography case, denied the defendant's family and others a seat in the courtroom to watch the jury selection, which violated the constitutional right to a public trial and nearly invalidated the proceedings entirely. Nearly let a pedophile get away. Wow. Through her inexperience. She also neglected to swear in a prospective jury pool. Once again, that's a mandatory procedure, but something that a defense lawyer could easily use to get an acquittal. Oh, judge didn't follow proper procedure. What are you gonna do? I guess my client's got to go. In that case, it doesn't matter the evidence that you have, because no proper procedure, can't really have a trial. So it's those little kinds of mistakes that get a lot of people thinking, uh-oh, this is not a good situation if you're actually looking to apply the law. And in this case, it seems to be a ton of evidence against the former president. And it just, again, makes me concerned. It makes a lot of people concerned that something like this could just allow the former president to just get away with it on a technicality. So I think that she needs to be replaced with someone who is actually fair and impartial and experienced, who knows what they're doing. If not, again, I don't think Trump will be getting a fair, a proper trial, and any ruling, whether it be positive or negative, depending on what you're looking for, right? For people, like, if the evidence comes out overwhelmingly that Donald Trump, of course, did something wrong, did something criminal in withholding these documents, well, then any decision, if Cannon comes out and says, well, yeah, well, I can't disagree with the facts, well, that, again, decision's going to be tainted by this. Or if it swings the other way, the decision is going to be tainted by this as well, by clear bias and favoritism. And it's that result is always going to be under question. And that's not a good thing when you have a justice system